And so we see the emancipation of the feminine from the moon at an unconscious level. Or through the heart, the becoming more in command with all the functions of the body. And through the clearing of the shadows of the heart, we could say the history of the abuse through the feminine and the abuse through the masculine. Maybe we'll do it all over again, but the history is resolved. The shadows are gone. Now, what is interesting is that as the heart is more awakened and more awakening, the energy comes into the spleen-pancreas area. And this links directly to the forces of nature, to the etheric, what we call the etheric forces that help to balance and rebuild and to heal the body. Now, it is as if the light of the soul enters more clearly through the heart, is more present at the deep subconscious levels. We are not so imprisoned by the deep trauma that we carry collectively from ancient times. And then the connection to the body, the soul as its connection to the body, it says yes to life. And we see the energy go right through, it's through the left side of the body, but it roots, it comes into the earth. And in coming into the earth, it makes the earth our home. We can make our home anywhere on the earth. The whole of the earth becomes the home for the whole of mankind. Now, what happens when we are rooted in that way? And then we say, if we could follow the footsteps of every great teacher, great cosmic teacher, there would be golden footprints wherever they have walked. And wherever they have walked, the earth itself becomes holy ground. And we would begin to walk in their footprints. Perhaps we already are, but we didn't actually notice, but we are. Or we only felt it in a special place sometimes. But we are. And gradually then, wherever we walk, the earth becomes holy ground. What does that mean? Does the past have to be forgiven? But is forgiveness not a literal repetition of the words or trying to interpret it in different ways? Is forgiveness more a total oneness with, an embracing of, a non-resistance to? So now we're so interested in ecology. And to me, I see this as very much a part of this. We become one with the earth. We look for endangered species. We look for the atmosphere. We want the rivers not to be, and the seas not to be polluted. And then, what we're going to feed our children, how will we grow our crops? Will the pesticides used to help our vegetables to grow without bugs kill the bees? The neonicotinoids kill the bees. Very successful in killing the bugs, but actually they kill the bees. And without the bees, everything dies. So we see the flow into the earth. It is saying yes to the land upon which we stand. What will that do to a nation that seeks its own identity, seeks to hold to its own identity, to make its boundaries, to keep others out, to remember the greatness of some part of its history? What will happen?
90% of Italy now is GMO-free. They refuse to allow a lot of the seeds in that are causing havoc. And more countries in Europe are turning to non-GMO, just natural production of food. And it's really been recent, let's say 10 years, I think.
It is recent. And from where I'm sitting, we see it as the light coming through the karmic matrix. And then being able to free all the self-harming areas from our deep subconscious that have collective undertones. It's so interesting to see them clear. Now, once the solar plexus begin to clear, the intestines begin to function more in a rhythmic way. Our relationship to economy and economics and to the material world is very much linked to the descending colon. Even as children, we can see when there is complications in this area, which comes when with their toilet training, potty training. We can see it affects their relationship to the economy, to how they can manifest abundance or how they live in a kind of a never quite enough. Now, when the energy flows through the right side of the body, it frees us from needing to, frees us into being more responsive to the pathways that we can move forward. It comes right into it comes through the liver, and it comes through also through the appendix area, and it comes through the pelvis, but more through the right hip and down the right leg. And this, when it comes down the right leg, it meets all the binding vows that we have made by blood, that in the name of some God, that we call God, but it's some God, that we swear allegiance, and then we do things that are not particularly godlike at all. And we see this flowing through the area which filters everything to saying, you've got to do this and you're not allowed to do that, and all the signs and all the rules and regulations. And there we find that the boundaries dissolve. We have organizations like Médecins Sans Frontières and the World Health Organizations and so many NGOs that we don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it everywhere under all sorts of conditions. And we find that and I meet remarkable people who've started projects that will work with children that are in danger, teenagers that are not quite anchoring, and to start projects that literally within the community there is a sense of reaching out, and then we say the World Mother comes in. And this is what we see in these times, perhaps in the interdimensional relationships, if we think of it that way now. But the World Mother enters in so that the path of service becomes a part of every single occupation. It's not just doing a job of service. In every single occupation there is a way of working in the hierarchy. There is a way of working with reverence and respect for life and for the fact that the water is running and that the sewage is being collected. There's a sense of what do we do that the community benefits and that it is not polarized into one pocket and taken from every other pocket. Now, this is the World Mother, and the World Mother is also whenever decisions are made by very powerful, usually powerful men, who are very much empowered by the glory of their country from some period at some time, and the World Mother is there. And someone in their family will touch them. She won't be able to reach them directly, but she'll touch them. And it will come probably through their children, through their partner. And in this time of such open communication, there's very little that can remain secret for too long. Up to a certain point, mind you, but still, there's very little that can remain secret for too long, that it doesn't go onto public media. Now, I thought we'd just have a meditation to the real meditation in a way, to bring us through, because everything we've talked about is happening. It's absolutely my reality on reality. And so that everything we've talked about is not there for anybody to believe, but if there is some truth in it, it will resonate with everybody. It will resonate in the language that is your language and in the images that are your references. But it will resonate. And so I thought we'd just have a meditation to seek to bring it all together. The light of the soul, the lamp of the soul, is alive in our hearts. The consciousness of the soul, from the workshop of the soul, where the very source of the plan behind our life is contained, it is alive, it is working within us. Our heart is resonant and receptive to it. And in the deeper levels of our consciousness, there is a recognition of flow. There is an awakening. And we all live within the history of our own path that in many ways is a path of forgetfulness. What are we going to remember? For even as the light from the earth energizes the source of energy and power within our physical and psychic structures, the shadows from the path are dissolved, they are released, they are very gently, but very consistently and very specifically and very clinically. They are gradually dissolved, but they are dissolved just enough. For always it releases the voluntary choice that comes through the emergence, as we observe it, of the higher free will. And the higher free will is the point of choice where the light of the soul is the indicator of the direction. And we see this happening now. And in this way, our childhood is not so much reclaimed, but it is released or healed, or it is allowed the emergence of the fullness of its light, of its treasures that have often been buried. And there the experiences of our adolescence or of our young adulthood, of our maturing, we are all good enough for the light of our higher self, for the light of the spiritual nature of existence to come through. We are all perfect enough. Our instruments as a human being, our psychological, our psychic, our body structures, our interdimensional relationships are good enough. We hold this light. Whatever we do, if we do nothing, we hold this light. And it is active as a network, as a collective. And he does not need a preacher or a teacher. It is a spontaneous discovery that is direct and individual, and yet it is often so subtle that it is like an aroma within the atmosphere. It is a simple choice, where one example inspires perhaps many others. And we find a community that is at risk recovers its own dignity, a culture which is in many ways devoid of compassion. It awakens through the very sacrifice of others. And then a multinational culture with many diverse forms of belief, and with every force of survival active within them in one way, finds another way. And a language of music arises, and a language of fashion, and the sharing of food, and a world that is nourished through the sharing of the riches, for each country has its own unique rich. And then we find that the history of the world, through the roots of the nations and the races, is gradually emerging in a most obvious and self-revealing way. We say into a family of mankind, into a planetary family of a relationship between man and nature, of all the animals and man. And then we find our place, we begin to find our place amongst all the planets of our solar system, and we find our solar system amongst the stars. And we are created on the matrix of this. We are the systems of the stars in miniature, even as we are in the image of the Creator in our very divine spark. Whatever course our life takes this course with us and through us now. Whatever forces are active within us, whatever opportunities arise, it is all working from an harmonic resonance with the creation in action. It employs history, it takes man's inhumanity and it recycles it. It is an alchemical experience. It does not take time. It takes place in consciousness, where time itself is an element that is used and used again for the good. Can we feel this now? Even as we breathe, the air fills with the different pranas, with the energies of life. As we breathe, this feeds us. As we admire, as we look, as we take in the light of the sun and the light of the stars, it fills us, it nourishes us. All the impacts of illnesses, our frequency is above them. We are raised beyond them. They do not register. There are no parasites where one form feeds off another. There is a sense of patience. Even if there is a sense of urgency, it is approached patiently. As much as we work with the histories of our families, can we imagine in the future that our children's children's children will receive the light from our generation and will feel the love in the atmosphere to meet them as they incarnate, and will meet a world already prepared to receive them and to teach them, that they will bring through the greatness of their calling, and mankind becomes a state of partnership with nature, with the Creator. And as far as we have come, it is a new beginning. And as far as we have come, It is a simplification. And as far as we have come, it is a space for a level of originality and creativity that is within the promise of all the great teachers, but it is within the lives of every life. Okay, we can gently come back. And as you come back, just touch the person next to you. You don't have to grab them, but you can just touch them. Yeah. And just move your feet and your shoes. Yeah. Okay. So, thanks for sharing a really lovely evening. And being very patient at the same time as well. Thank you. Okay. Okay.